Imperial Hotel. Yes, sir, please. Thank you. I made it to Tokyo, Japan. I'm here in Japan for about 3 days. I lost a day coming over here. So I'm here for about 3 days, heading back on Saturday. Got a number of client meetings, a couple of different speaking gigs, and really looking forward to it. This week, we're going to talk about, what are we going to talk about? This week's theme, cultural awareness. This is, I think, my 4th or 5th trip to Japan, and one of the things that I find very fascinating is Japanese business culture and etiquette. I love the formalities and the politeness. Let's get this week going Japan style, shall we? All right. They just kicked off the conference. I've got my first meeting. We make these old, I had something to do with this. Somebody made these hotel rooms into meeting rooms, which is always a bit weird for me. But first lesson in Japanese cultural awareness. We had the kickoff to the transfer pricing conference this morning. The PwC head of transfer pricing in Japan apologized to those in Japan for, number one, not speaking Japanese in his home country, which makes sense. But the other one, this was interesting, he also apologized for sitting down while presenting because he said that is considered rude in Japanese culture. So he actually called out and apologized to this audience of, 600 plus people. So apparently if you're presenting in Japan, you should stand up and not sit down. Who would have known? All right, I'm waiting for BMO, and I don't know who else is coming to this meeting, but we'll see when they show up. Weird, huh? Cultural awareness point. In Japan, it is very important to have a business card. Ideally, I would have a business card that has Japanese written on the back. In Japan, business cards are very, very important. So when I met with one of our Japanese clients, it's very important to present the business card like this, so that you allow the person to read the card. So when somebody first presents you the card, you actually need to read where are they based, what is their title, ideally acknowledge something to be able to establish that you've read it, and then you present yours in response. So bring a bunch of business cards, read the person's business card, and absolutely don't just shove it in one of your pockets. Apparently they have a session where they highlight all these different countries and you can get insights about their tax systems, but they also bring something from the country. So I really heard some good things about this, but let's go check it out. Kudos to our Indian colleagues for the vegetarian samosas. Oh, really good. So let's see what my fellow U.S. colleagues were able to come up with to share their culture. Is there lettuce in the hot dog? Like those do not look like American hot dogs, says the vegetarian. We're gonna go see the Imperial Gardens and the Imperial Palace and do a little sightseeing. I've got a couple hours in between meetings. Another cultural awareness lesson, and this is something that I read about. If you remember, I advocate the use of a book, Kiss, Bow, or Shake Hands. One of the things that's important in Japan is when you're eating, not to point with your chopsticks. And the first night at dinner, one of my partners pointed with his chopsticks the entire meal, like pointed at the waiter, pointed at the... Come to Japan, don't point your chopsticks at anybody when you're eating. And when you're done, set your chopsticks next to your plate. There's a little resting spot for them, and don't stick the chopsticks in your food. It's important when you go to different countries to understand what those norms are, particularly when you're going to dinner, because you don't want to offend people. T-shirt at the gift shop. Was out of clean clothes. Japan flag. All right, I'm gonna stop talking to the camera in the bathroom. All right, so I made it to Narita Airport in Japan. Great few days of meetings and a conference. A lot of fun. Page Hill, thank you very much for having me at the Global Transfer Pricing Conference. Last piece of wisdom that I wanted to impart on Japanese cultural awareness is how to appropriately address people in Japan to be polite. The way to do it is to add the word san to a last name. For example, I met somebody this week with the last name Yamaguchi. And so to politely address that person, you would say Yamaguchi-san. And in fact, there were a number of people who addressed me as Makoni-san. So if you've enjoyed this video, mash that like button on LinkedIn, on YouTube. Subscribe, people. We are almost at our 100th episode, and I am far shy of my 10,000 goal. Really far shy. Stay tuned next week for another exciting edition of the Doug McConey vlog. All right, I'm out of here.